All right, so now we are back. So I've got the graph, and we're gonna call this one. Yeah, this is what I want to do. I've got my things, so I can kind of see them. So if I want to export this under preview, I can start to do this, and so I can put this in here, and I can say refresh. So one of the things you'll notice with this is that it has changed these lines into curved lines. And so this is something that is fine. It is something that every single time you do this, you're going to have to play around with how things look. You're going to have to adjust what sizes they are. You're going to have to do some of the things that you already did in your previous one. So I just checked off proportional sides, and so now I'm going to increase this size again. So this isn't exactly what I want, so let's do this one. Let's see what we got for this one. Okay, that's a little bit better. So now I can see at least some of them. Some of them are a little small. So there's that. I can shorten my labels and say, okay, so you can see that some of these are quite long. And so maybe to make it more visible, I'm going to say that I'm going to shorten it to 15 characters. And so let's see what happens with that. So anything that's too long, now you can see is going to be cut off here. And so that is something that I can do that's a little short. So let's go with 25. Okay, so at least the big one here is going to be fine. So, but even so, you can see Mississippi State Penitentiary is cut off. But really, this is cutting off the really, really long ones. And so with that, then I can maybe go up here and be like, okay, well, actually, I want to make this a little bit bigger because now I don't have to worry so much about them overlapping too much. So now I can see that they're a little bit busier. It's still a little busy. I'm not super thrilled with it, but that's okay. And then I can say, yeah, that's fine. I have my edges. That's fine. I can play with border colors. So right now they're darker, but if I wanted to, I can say I actually want them all to be, I don't know, let's go with, I want them to be, let's say I wanted them to be bright red. And I can say okay, and I'm going to do that. And I can also say, yeah, I want to have a fixed border weight. I want to have this be, let's say, size 3, and I'm going to refresh this. And so now you can see that all of these ones here are all this kind of bright red, or maybe I want this to actually be a border size of 10 and refresh that. There we go. We got this bright red one. I'm going to switch this back to just a darker one. Refresh that one. So you can also change the opacity of the nodes if you want. So let's say that I want to have them be kind of see-through. I can do that. I can also do that with the node outline opacity. I can do that with the opacity of the edges, which is really the thing that's causing this brightness in here. So maybe I want to actually drop that one out a little bit, and then I actually want to have this opacity be darker. There we go. And then maybe I actually want to have this opacity reduce even further. So maybe I really want that edge opacity to be, there we go. So now what this has done is it's really made these edges really hard to see. It's still pretty bright in the middle here, but then I also have this darker one here. And so then maybe I want this a little bit darker so that the edge ones over here I can kind of see a little bit better. So there we go. So we can take a look at some of those ones and see how we want them to look. And then when we're happy with this one, right? So, and if this is something that we normally do, that where this is normally what we have, then what I can do is I can go over to File, I can go over to Export, and I can export this into some sort of file. So I'm going to go and I'm going to export this into the place where it existed before, my downloads here, and I'm going to call this test network. All right, so there we go. So I can export that one. If I go back to my network, right? So if I go back to my network, then we can see that this network has now been exported. And then from there, I can make adjustments, like I can crop this out, I can make changes. If I want to get rid of some of these things, I can also do that. So that's how you end up with an image out of it. You can also do things like change the background. You can play around with some of the other ones as well and see what they are going to do. That is very bright and not my favorite. I can do a black background one. Whew. This is actually a little bit more my speed, I'm not going to lie. I usually do dark mode things, so this one is a little bit more, and it works better for that color gradient that I chose before. It makes this slightly less bright. I'm still going to ditch this proportional size one though, right? So this one looks a little bit better than that white background, but even still, this is going to be, take a look and see what things you actually want, what's going to visualize your thing best, and go from there. So that's how you get that one out. The next one we're going to do is getting this into an interactive online graph.